Today, I'm going to unbox Flashpoint South China Sea. This is a game designed by Harold Buchanan, graphics by Terry Leeds, and it purports to be the Flashpoint Series Volume 1. So I think this is a taste of things to come. This apparently is going to become a series. It's not quite a series yet because this is Volume 1. This is the first in this series. This is published by GMT Games, which I want to thank for sending me this copy. Thank you very much for doing that. I've been excited about this topic and this game. If you've checked out my playlist, I've covered some games on modern naval warfare, and included in that is a game done by a competing publisher that on the South China Sea that is more of a tactical game dealing with conflicts. This one right here is more strategic, or actually a little bit more abstract than that. This covers political and economic and military type of elements in an abstract form. It's a two-player game, but has a built-in solitaire system, which, you know, if you've been following me, you know that's something that I like. In fact, I think you can play this game out of the box by just reading the solitaire rules alone. A lot of games, when you get them, you have to read the basic rules or the underlying rules or the core rules, and then there's usually a section on solitaire or a separate book on solitaire. Here, I believe that you can just go right to the solitaire playbook and just read that, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, let's take a look at the back of the box here. First off, you know, with Harold Buchanan, you might know him from the coin series Liberty or Death, the American Revolutionary War game that he did. I think that was his first design, and I believe this might be his second design. So he is starting to add to his name here. It says age 14 plus, players 1 to 2, includes a full solitaire system. As I said, playing time 30 to 60 minutes, and I believe that's relatively accurate. This is not a overly complex game. The complexity is low. Imagine I just said that. And solitaire is high. Game contents: 32 wooden cubes. This is a cube game. 3 black wooden disc, 1 mounted game board, 2 rules booklet, 1 2-player and 1 solo, 1 playbook, 3 player aids, and 63 playing cards. So this is somewhat card driven, and a cube pusher of sorts. Mainly there's tracks that you're going to be keeping the cubes on. If you look here, it says Flashpoint South China Sea is a 2-player strategy game that simulates the complex geopolitical competition currently taking place between the United States and China in the disputed region of the South China Sea. So this is a game where, you know, China is trying to expand their influence in their backyard, so to speak, or their back pool, so to speak, in the South China Sea by, you know, exerting their influence and trying to reclaim some islands and the like. On the opposite side of the spectrum, or the competing forces, is the United States trying to keep the flow of naval pathways and passages, and, you know, just the flow of goods through that region, and trying to exert their influence, their geopolitical influence in this region, the like. So it's kind of a push-pull type system. I think I've seen some interviews with the designer and Mr. Buchanan talking about this, and I think he was influenced by Twilight Struggle. I think that's one of his favorite games, if not his favorite game. And you're going to see elements of that here. This is done in a different way. I believe it took 3 years working on this, so it should be relatively tight in its play. And so let's get in the box and see what we have here. I don't have any nails today, so let's see what we got here. Nice box, nice cover there. You know, it's interesting to see. As I said, there's some other games that are coming out on this conflict with dealing with the South China Sea and some games that are specifically coming out from a naval perspective. But there's also, there's the whole Next War series that deals with, Taiwan and Vietnam and Korea. So, that's more of a futuristic look at what could happen or what if scenarios. We saw that a lot in the 70s and 80s, and of course time went by, and now those games are hypothetical what ifs looking back, and maybe all these games will be that way too in 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows? So anyway, nice box here, a good sturdy box. I guess that's, what is that, 2-inch maybe? Here's the rules of play. This is the 2-player rules of play. Looks like we're looking at 12 pages if you count the back, and the back is a player aid, the operational cost here. And then it's full color, huge images there, or large images there. You got some QR codes here if you want to get some more information on the game here. Dual column, as I said, a lot of colorful insets and imagery to help you play the game. This does not look that overly complex or complex at all. I like that. Again, this is, highly abstracted, right? This is the setup of the game, and you can see here the board here, you're going to have these tracks. These inner ones are the islands that, or land that China's trying to reclaim. These are the countries around the region that you're going to be exerting diplomatic or economic influence. You have your tracks for the U.S. and for China, where they're keeping reserves and the like. And then you have kind of this victory point track here. And if you've played Twilight Struggle or games like that, you're probably used to this kind of push-pull of the victory point track here. There's the victory conditions. One thing that's, if you've played, again, Twilight Struggle, I keep harking back to that, but I think there's some influences here, if I'm not mistaken. These are like the scoring cards. Now, if you play Twilight Struggle, they were embedded in the deck, and so when you draw from the deck, you'll have a scoring card and you'll play that. So they came up randomly. Here, the scoring cards are out here for the different countries or regions, and there'll be iconography or some kind of notation on the card that will allow you to execute the scoring of the different cards out there. The cards are multi-use, so both sides will be drawing from the same cards. There are events on the cards, and just like in Twilight Struggle, gotta keep saying that, there are events for you, there's events for the opponent, and then there are neutral events. So you might trying to be burying some of the events if they're for your opponent and you have them in your hand. But there's like ops value, and then there's also some other notation or icons that are on the cards that you use in certain circumstances. I think there's like a military and economic and I can't remember what the other one was on that. As I said, I've been doing a little bit of research on this, but have not fully boned up for my test yet. Yeah, here you go. So you got military, territorial, and trade are these icons. So those are the mode icons. So you have an ops value, you have a mode, and then you have the scoring impact. So this will help you determine if you can execute a scoring card. Then you have some events here, and then you have something how it affects the tension. There's this tension track at the top of the board that's going to affect how things happen as well, and they might be actually prerequisites to certain things. It might tell you, what the tension level. It might affect how you can do certain operations in there. So the rules look relatively clear and concise. As again, this is not your standard hex encounter, and it's not a straight reboot of Twilight Struggle or a CDG. So we got some cubes going on here. We got some tracks, but we got some cards that are similar to CDGs or Twilight Struggle. So got a mix of components here. So hopefully he's mixed the best of all those worlds into one. So that's the 2-player rules. Then you have the playbook, which let's see, this has got, looks like it's 12 pages. You've got some more tracks here. Of course, this is event card distribution, so it tells you a little bit about the different events. So if you are somewhat competitive and you want to know what your chances are or probability of getting some of these cards or what cards are in the deck. You're going to want to bone up on that. And so we've got some notes here, some strategy tips. We've got the timeline here. So a little bit of historical background. Again, this is kind of a hypothetical or what if or future-looking state of things. So a little bit of background there. You've got an explanation of each of the cards. Always got to love that. And then you've got the designer notes and development of solo notes. So this is a different kind of playbook. It's not necessarily a play-by-play. It's more of a kind of a player aid, giving you a little bit more information into the content of the game and some of the background of the game there. So that's the playbook. Then you get the solo rules of play. So again, you can, I believe you just picked, if you want to play solo, you can just throw those away. No, you never do that. And just pick this up and get right into the game just looking at the solo rules. And it has, there's no back page, so 19 pages of rules there. And you get through these 19 pages, again, dual column, color imagery. There's your setup. Gotta love having a setup page. And you could follow through this and play the game without ever having to learn the two-player system. Now, I believe the solo draws a lot from the two players, so having played the two-player, you're going to be easier to play the solo, and probably vice versa there. So that's the rules of play for solo. Then you have some player aids here right off the top. You have the solo play U.S. opponent and solo play aid China opponent. So depending on which side you're going to play, you get the flip it over. Here's the sequence of play, which is in any solo game, or most solo games, I should say, the sequence of play and how you do things is very important because that kind of determines what happens and helps position the AI or the artificial intelligence. You got some reminders here, and then of course you have the same for China on how it's going to do things. You've got your operational cost and sequence of action. There are two of these. They are identical, it appears. And so if you're playing the one-player game, you could maybe do that. Of course, the sequence of action might be different than the solo, but you have your operational cost here. So you have what the operation is, what the prerequisites are for those operations, and at the tension level, there's some notations here. So again, there's some different things going on in the game that affect each other. They're kind of interrelated, and that's kind of the key to the game on how things are going to play out. Again, this is really kind of an abstract game of geopolitics in a conflict between China and the United States in the South China Sea area. So we'll look at the map here in a second. Here are the cubes. You got some cubes here and got some black wooden discs there. You have the cards, which are going to be essential for this game. This is basically the game, is these cards here. And I'm not doing a good job of getting them open here. So there we go. And as you can see here, there are black, red, and blue. And then these green ones are the scoring cards. Let's look at those first. So this is for Brunei. If you're going to score this, tells you what you do to score this and what points you get. And so these are going to be open, turned over, face up during the game. You can score these over time. And when you score it, then you flip it over, and then it will be available, I think, the next turn, I believe it is. So, but it's not like in some games where the scoring cards are embedded, and when you pull it out of the deck, or you have to play it out of your hand to do the scoring. They're out there, but they're going to be based off of what you have down here in the corner. What you can score there is what's going to activate that. So you got the different regions here. These cards right here are for solo play. Yes, look at that solo card. Yeah, I did more homework than you think on this one. Probably still don't have a passing grade yet. I'll leave that up to Mr. Buchanan. So you have, this is for the solo play and tells you how to resolve this. And so that's something I'm going to have to read out of the solo book to see how this works. But that is what you need for the solo deck. And then you have, for the solo play, Then you have the cards. The black are neutral. The red are China, or China friendly, I should say. And then the blue are US friendly. And as I said, you have the ops, you have the mode, you have the scoring indicator, and then you have the event. So you have some multiple uses here. And depending on how you want to use it, or what you're using it for, is going to affect the gameplay there. So, and you've got some flavor text here. Again, this is more current and future looking, maybe. So interesting how you're not necessarily going to get the full historical feel of some of this. There's Kim Jong-un. That's historical. There's good old Vlad. But it's not like something like Twilight Struggle where you're reliving the Cold War. This is something of current and future type conflicts in there. So that is the core of the game, would be this event deck here. So let's take a look at the map here and see what we have as far as a map. It's one-sided, and it is mounted, as you would expect on a game this size. And you have the victory point track down here. And I think there's an interesting aspect in the two-player game. You bid on it. I think China has a built-in advantage in the game overall, and so you bid to see who's going to play China. And that's going to give, whatever you bid, that's going to give, so if you bid 4 to play China, then the U.S. is going to start off on the 4 on the victory track. So that's a really unique and interesting game mechanic, and it really kind of goes more to the game effect. It's kind of a game balancing effect, I would say, because you don't have a historical situation here as such. You've got a current and future looking situation, so you're not like trying to create an asymmetrical situation. You're just reflecting an asymmetrical situation. So I really like that game effect of bidding for it, that who gets China. So that's going to be where you start out on the victory point track. And then you have these different regions. They have a place for the U.S. cubes and a place for the Chinese cubes, and you have economic and diplomatic. And then there's a way to lock these down, and so you'll put, like if China locks this down, they would put their cube there. That has some game effects. So you have the countries of Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, and Philippines. Then you have these islands, these lands that China's trying to reclaim here or take over, and that they play a little bit different than what's going on here. And it's like, I think the CR is China reclamation, and that's freedom of naval operations passageway. I can't remember. There's some acronym for that, but it's something like freedom to operate in the oceans there. That's what the United States is trying to preserve in this game. You have your campaign. There's those are the different rounds, I believe. You've got this political warfare that has a separate effect going on here. And then I'm going to have to pull this up here so you can see this a little bit better. Whoa, there we go. Just did a drone attack here. You've got your attention track here. That's going to affect gameplay. For People's Republic of China, United States, you have what's available. So your cubes will be here, what's available, and then what's in reserve. And there's a way to get stuff out of reserve to available. And what you have available is what you can put on the board or use for political warfare. Again, this isn't meant to be a rules overview because, honestly, I don't know all the rules. But I thought I was going to relate some of what I know so that you can get a feel for what you get in the box. And I'm going to probably do another video of this either. This is one that I might actually be able to do some gameplay and show how that goes out. But at the very least, I'll try to do one of my patented after action gameplays where I kind of talk a little bit about what happened in the game, but mainly kind of focus on how the game plays and what are some of the things I like or didn't like or was scratching my head about. Anyway, so that is what you get in a box of Flashpoint South China Sea. These are decent quality, not super thick, but they're fine. Quite a bit in this box, considering it's a relatively compact game. You've got cubes and cards. I like the aspect of the solo rules separate, the playbook, and then you've got the two-player rules. So if you're a two-player guy or person, grab onto that. If you are solo only or primarily, hey, got you covered there. You get a deck of cards, you get your scoring cards, you get your cubes, and you get your solo deck for gameplay. So that is what you get in a box of Flashpoint South China Sea. Again, thank you, GMT. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan, for designing this. This looks interesting and looks very different than games, other games that are out there. I mean, there's this kind of a trend with games like Fort Sumter and Versailles 1919 and this Flashpoint that are pulling from different aspects of Euro type games, but also war games. I'm not going to get in the debate on whether Twilight Struggle is a war game or not. Mr. Buchanan clearly thinks it's a war game, and you know what? I'm going to go with him because his name's on the box. Anyway, pulling from all these different genres and coming up with something that is, engaging, is interesting, is different, and it plays in different ways. This one right here, just out of the box and just looking at it fresh, I can see a lot of DNA from other games, but yet it's different and it's unique and it's a different perspective. For me, I like that. I'm not somebody that wants to see the old Hex and Counter. Don't get me wrong, I like Hex and Counter, but I like new stuff. I like seeing new developments, and this is interesting. I'm really interested in seeing where this Flashpoint series goes. Does it go to different regions? Does it stay in the oceans? Does it go inland? Does it go well into the future, or does it stay with current plus somewhat future conflicts, or does it go to the past? I mean, interesting to see where this whole series takes us. So and so far, I'm along for the ride. So that's what I have for you today. Love to know your comments on this. If you've got a chance to get this already, have you played it? What do you think about it? Are you interested in this at all? Or are you like, no way, it's got cubes and cards and not my bag? Understand that completely, but love to hear your thoughts anyway. That's what I have for you. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. I know your time is precious, so any amount of time that you spend in this ether space, especially listening to me rattle on, I appreciate that, and I really want you to know that. So thank you for that. Thank you for stopping by, and have a good rest of your day, rest of your afternoon, rest of your evening, or a great morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Thanks. Thanks for watching.